I, 43F, just found out the man I've been seeing is 31. Is this doomed? For the record, nobody lied or intentionally deceived or omitted information. Our situation was a little odd in that it never came up till way later than it probably should have. We met on a social platform for an interest we shared. Became friends, talked a few times a week. It was like this for about a year. He looks older than his age and always has now that I know his true age. When he showed me pics from X years ago at Y, he was 18. He looked around 25-27. I always thought he was around 36-38. I look younger than my age. For one, I'm petite, and people always seem to perceive shorter, slimmer, smaller people as younger in general. For two, I have some interests and hobbies that are generally associated with younger people. There's a decent handful of people my age into them as well, but I'd say the main demographic is mid-20s to mid-30s. Probably a 70-30 split. For three, not to sound vain, but I've just aged well. I have zero health conditions. I have very little gray, very few lines on my face, and people are usually shook when they find out my real age. I'm always assumed to be about 10 years younger than I am. Between he needs a name. Carlos, and I, it was just sort of assumed we were close in age because of our appearance and interests and never really came up. After all, we were just online friends. Well, about 8 months ago I got a job in his area. To be very clear, not because of him. It wasn't a consideration, just a nice perk. I had been living in a very high call area and put out feelers I was looking to move and loosely identified some states. I was headhunted and ended up living a half hour from him. Awesome, we can finally meet. Maybe be friends offline. From there things moved pretty fast. We just clicked. Well, the other day he asked me grab his credit card out of his wallet and I glanced at his ID. Born in 1990? Oh my God. Sweet Jesus, no. We immediately had a talk. For my part, his life experiences are another reason he seemed older. He's lived in 17 countries due to being in military service for both Mexico and the US. He's done some shit and been through some shit. He never seemed like a younger adult in the just gotten established part of life because he's already past that. We shared taste in movies and music, and when we said, "Oh, I played that when I was younger," again, it was just assumed we were kids, teens at the same time. Most things nostalgic that I like come from the mid-90s or early 2 kiloseconds, which obviously he's familiar with too. We're both a bit embarrassed that the exactly how old are you question never came up. We definitely connect and like each other and have absolutely enjoyed our relationship thus far. Obviously it's never really seemed like there's a gap. But my concern is that eventually it will show. If we continue on, what does 10 or 20 years in the future look like? Guess I'm just looking for guidance here because I know age gap relationships usually flame out. But we didn't know there was a significant gap. Anyone have experience with this? Why does it matter? Once everyone's over 30, age is really just a number. Make sure you're on the same page about the important stuff, like kids, family obligations, religion, where you want to live and travel, and work, and y'all should be just fine. There are no guarantees in any relationship, yours isn't necessarily doomed. Like you said, you need to consider the next 10 and 20 years, do your life goals line up with his? Does he want kids? Is he established at his job? Are the two of you on equal footing financially? The two of you need to have a discussion on what you want out of the relationship and see if you are compatible beyond your shared interests. A 12-year gap is a much bigger issue when it's between a 30-year-old and an 18-year-old or a 25-year-old and 37-year-old. In those cases, those involved are in completely different life stages. Right now your life stages are pretty similar, but that can change as you get older. I am 57, my girlfriend is 45. As long as you were both in a good place and love each other's company, just roll with it. If the ages were reversed, nobody would bat an eye. What matters is you two click. The reality is age doesn't matter. I know 45-year-olds that act 60. I know 60-year-olds that can put 40-year-olds to shame. The only issue that the age can complicate is if he wants kids and you're done having kids, otherwise it's not a big deal. I don't see anything wrong with the age gap. In my opinion, once both parties are 30 plus, age doesn't mean anything at that point. As you said, didn't question it till you saw his ID. So I would say if you click as you say, then go for it. Have fun and be happy. I went to a baby shower and my boyfriend and me had a fight because I don't think he liked me going. I went to a coworker's baby shower yesterday. A lot of my other coworkers were there as well. My boyfriend dropped me off, and I came downstairs and he was acting weird and standoffish. I texted him the whole time I was there. Which was annoying, and he gave me a attitude. I had a White Claw and he told me that it wasn't cool that I was drinking with other guys. The group had a mix of guys and girls. Then when I got home we started arguing because I felt like he was jealous and manipulating and did not want me to have a life outside of him. I've never cheated on him and never thought of it. In February he was caught texting escorts. So I got upset because he's the cheater and still tries to accuse me. He claims I went to a party all dolled up. Later in the night we got into another argument because a coworker of mine called me late, basically felt like a booty call. Which was weird, but he was drunk. I just hung up on him. I told my boyfriend about it, but he claims I probably gave that guy an idea. Why is my boyfriend portraying me as the bad person? I literally went to a baby shower and ate, had 2 drinks, and he was upset. He's most likely feel guilty about what he's done and is now paranoid that you'll retaliate. You didn't do anything wrong. Why are you with this guy? Break up, he's an asshole. Texting sex workers? Way to bury the lead. How can you be so desperate that you would settle for this man? Ah yes, baby showers. The best place for hookups. Why is my boyfriend portraying me as the bad person? So he can feel superior and take the focus off of his cheating ass. He probably feels shitty about cheating on you, so he makes up some alternate reality of completely made up facts, like you must have said or done something to make your coworker try to get in your pants. You must have been going to that party to get back at him. It's classic projection. The bigger question is, how much shit are you gonna eat from this guy? Either of these things would be a deal breaker for me. At a minimum I'd have a come to Jesus with him to make it clear that you're not gonna take this shit from him. Girl is a bottom wants me to tell people she's a top. So I started dating this girl, who was super masc, and when she would talk about sex in front of people would always express how much of a top she was and all her moves. I thought it was too much but tried not to judge. I am a switch, so for me I can do either or, but when we actually got intimate she turned out to be a pillow princess. It's not a big deal for me, but it was so weird she kept telling people she was a top and all the things she did. Well, when we were out with her friends they were making comments about sexual experience and she made a comment about how she would break my back. I gave her a weird look because literally what is she talking about? She asked me to speak in private to ask me to go along with it and make it seems like she's the top. Am I being stupid for not wanting to go along with this? I would need to know why. I'm not lying just for shits and giggles. She gives out way too many details about your sex life. Like whose business is it whether she's a top, bottom, or switch? She's playing up the masc side to make it seem like she's not a pillow princess bottom. She's overcompensating and drawing you into the lie. Figure out what your conscience can handle. A woman displaying toxic masculinity? Hate to see it. I don't think you're stupid for not wanting to cooperate with her lies. It's weird that she can't be true to herself, and falsely brags about being the top. I say go with your head. I'm a pillow princess myself, and if I got into bed with what I assumed to be a top and they turned out to be a bottom, then it'd be quite uncomfortable. I am tired of my wife. I really am. We've only been married for almost 3 years. I am 28, she's 26. She doesn't own up to anything and is really narcissistic. I'm always supportive to her and help fulfill all her dreams and desires. Her father passed away a year ago and I've been there for her through thick and thin. I'm there constantly for her widowed mother, and I work very stressful and time-consuming job. I bring in all the money in the house, but I rarely come back home to a wife who's ready to see me. Any money she makes goes to her mother or her own personal shopping. She's constantly critical of everything I do. How I talk, how I walk, my hobbies, my family, my friends, dressing. Basically, it seems, she doesn't like me as a person at all. Even when I make progress in my career, she still finds a way to compare me to other people and makes me feel like we're not making progress fast enough in our lifestyle. I'm not tall enough for her. Not stylish enough. Nothing about me feels enough for her. I'm beginning to hate myself and hate that irregardless of how badly she treats me, I always keep on being loving and try to bring happiness in our marriage. I do more around the house than I've ever done in my life. I cook more and clean more. I pay for a helper who comes once a week to clean. But everything she does for me feels forced. Cooking for me. She complains afterwards about how it drains her. Sex. She's rarely in the mood. We make love max 4-5 times a month. I'm constantly anxious about what myself or others will say that'll make her angry for 24 hours. I'm tired of her. I don't even be around family, friends with her because anything they say or do that rubs her the wrong way somehow ends up being my fault. I've tried addressing this and she always finds a way to not take any responsibility. She might begrudgingly apologize then go back to being toxic again a few days or a few hours later. We dated for 5 years and she managed to hide this side of her personality well. It's exhausting and she's used to getting her way all the time. I tried being patient because she grew up as an only child and her father was sick for some time, but my mental health is slowly deteriorating. I don't even want to have kids with her because I feel that it would connect me to her for the rest of my life. You should never be with someone who makes you feel crap. If you want to leave, leave now before it's too late and there's kids in the picture. Be with someone who gives back as much as you give. Don't have kids. Worst thing for them ever, leave dude. I realize this is not nice to hear, but it sounds like your wife doesn't even like you, much less have any respect for you. Time to save yourself and be mindful of the about turn when you actually walk away. If you succumb to the waterworks and promises of improvement, then you're setting yourself up for years more of the same. Get out now before you do have kids or possibly have to pay alimony. You're still young. It won't get better. Get out. Run before you have kids. Go live. I go our best life.